All right, are we live?
We are live.
All right, good evening and welcome back to the Thursday, May 15th, 2025 meeting of the school committee. We have just returned from executive session and I would invite those here in the studio to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Where did, uh-oh,
Okay, that is a minor,
well, just pledge.
We can pledge to that one on the
there's one that
screen.
will pledge over there. All right.
There is.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. That was a surprise,
Improvising.
but we did well because it,
It's here somewhere.
all right, so we have, on our first order of business, we have public comment. I do not see anybody from, unless Abby, you're here to speak as a public, okay, that we have nobody here for public comment at this time. That moves us into recognitions. Does anybody have recognitions they would like to share?
I don't have them all, but I know that, I don't have her name, I didn't pull up the email. The new president of Business Professionals of America is a young lady from here in Hopkinton. I wish I had her name at this moment. It's embarrassing.
Is she one of those that has been on the trip?
Oh,
Student.
yes, yes. She's been in BPA for forever.
Okay. I had not heard that. That's very exciting.
And if I can find the email, I will be able to give the name.
Okay. All right, and I just want to let people know that we do have Chris Masters here on remotely, and that means that all of the votes that we will take will be taken by roll call vote tonight. Does anybody else have any recognitions to share? Well,
I will embed mine in the superintendent's
okay.
report.
That you're making a little cliffhanger there so people are
Embedding.
for your report.
Yes.
All right, and the student council report is the first one listed. Savannah is not here. I'm guessing she's busy with school stuff.
Does she have one more meeting with us, I hope? Okay.
We hope one, yeah.
We hope one more, okay. And then that brings us into the superintendent's report, so we can
Okay.
also hear your recognition.
All right. I think I am connected to the TV. I just need Bob to give me the access to it.
I have the name.
Oh, you want to share the name while we're waiting?
I
on
don't think I
Carol?
could say it.
Bob,
That's okay.
I just need to connect. Try it again. I'll undo. Okay. Let me start again. Yep.
Oh, it's over on the other computer, that's why.
Oh, it's on that one. Oh, no wonder. Nope, that's okay. I'm perfectly fine. Okay, so this is the superintendent's report for May 15th, 2025. And tonight I want to talk a little bit about the Hopkins school gas leak that occurred on Tuesday. So it was just about 10 a.m. on Tuesday, which was May 13th, and that's when the leak occurred. It occurred at a position called the regulator, which is just before the meter. And as soon as Hopkins school personnel smelled the gas, they called the fire department, because that's what we always do, whether you think you're smelling just a little bit of gas, if you think you're smelling a lot of gas, you pick up the phone and call the fire department. When we realized that the odor was growing stronger, right after that call was made, we pulled the fire alarm to start the evacuation process. Literally, the fire department was on scene in 2 minutes. From
Fabulous.
station to Hopkins School, 2 minutes, so the time was phenomenal. There have been people who have asked us, was the leak related to Hopkins construction? And the answer to that is no. The Hopkins construction is way on the other side of that building. We are currently still in the investigation process as to why that happened. So once we had the kids outside, we called both the middle school and the high school to determine who would have space. And while the athletic center at the high school is an enormous space, AP testing was happening in there on that day. So both the Brown gym and the Doyle gym at the middle school were free. And so we were able to put our fourth graders in the Doyle gym and the fifth graders in the Brown gym. And if people are wondering what this looked like for kids, you can see our fourth graders here, and they're just sitting on the floor and kind of patiently watching a movie. In the beginning, there was some buffering in the movie, and they'd watch a little bit, and then it would freeze, and they'd go, boo! That came right back, and I will say, you know, that our kids are so well-behaved that they left that school, they walked with their teachers, they got to the next location, they started watching movies, they were terrific, really. There was not a single kid that just didn't do exactly what was anticipated.
Absolutely.
So I do want to, this is my recognition for night, thank to all of the educators, our paraprofessionals, tutors, teachers, administrators, district directors, central office personnel, everyone. I can't tell you, our custodial staff, there were so many people that helped with student management, and I just need to say thank you to them. The other group of people that we need to say thank you to are the cafeteria workers, because when we realized that Hopkins was not going to be able to produce any lunches whatsoever, Elmwood, Marathon, the high school and the middle school, we got in touch with their cafeteria staffs, and they were able to produce enough lunches to feed all of those kids at Hopkins.
Did it violate some kind of law? Somebody told me that about, you could, like you can't make meals somewhere else and bring them in?
Not that I know of. I think that
Actually, the
typically
elementary school
schools
building
do that
committee,
very
we were talking
frequently.
about that
Yeah, because
right,
was,
that we were going to do that.
because
and
I
we
know in
decided it was not
Pennsylvania
easy
they
to
do it, or did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't know anything that prohibited us from doing that.
Had to
And, you know,
feed them.
it was so interesting because they would say, all right, we can do 40 sandwiches, we can do 25 sun butters, we can do 81 chicken nuggets,
Yeah.
and we're just all watching texts as, you know,
Wow,
the lunches were
Great team-
accumulating.
Great teamwork.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I also want to thank the Hopkinton Fire Department. Really, to be there in 2 minutes was astounding. And the police were there also. One of the school resource officers, who we affectionately call Goose, was able to be at Hopkins and then go with the kids up to the middle school.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So it was about 10:50 a.m. when the leak was controlled, which was great. They had just turned it off at the main. They didn't have Eversource. They weren't able to fix the regulator at that time. But by 11:20, all the kids and the staff had returned to Hopkins building, and they were kind of back at it. The fifth grade MCAS was taking place.
It was. It was, and then it wasn't.
And so that was canceled for the day.
I believe that was the loudest
Rescheduled.
uproar of the entire week, was when the fifth graders found out that they would not be resuming MCAS that day,
Oh.
but instead they would have a continuation
I
on
think
another
I
day.
heard that
There was no
over at
boo.
my house.
There was no booing there.
Here.
Yeah.
Are they able to, like, keep as completed the parts that they'd already done and then just move on?
Yeah, so DESE affords districts a protocol and a work flow, so to speak, whenever something like this happens. And you'd be surprised to know how often interruptions or irregularities happen with MCAS. So we phone them, we report what's going on, we ask if they want us to do anything in particular, and then we follow through there.
Okay, that's great. Well, appreciate all of the teamwork, and I know that took a lot from administrators as well, so.
Yes, and then apparently there are only 4 people who could repair our particular regulator. And so Eversource did come overnight, replace the regulator, and honestly, on Wednesday morning, you wouldn't have known anything ever happened. That's
great.
So,
I mean, not great that it happened, but great that it
I know,
was so smooth.
thank goodness, because in all honesty, I mean, I think it's probably like a 3-inch pipe maybe, and it was just, I mean, that much gas was coming out, so.
Wow.
We were standing in the parking lot when we first got there, and you could really smell gas,
Absolutely.
even while you were in the great outdoors.
Yeah.
So. All right, and so really thank you to the kids, first responders, emergency personnel, all of the school staff. It was quite a day, and really by noontime, it was under 2 hours that we went from, you know, great concern to, it was all wrapped up,
Yeah.
so. Pretty good.
Is that, I didn't know if you had anything else. to
Nope,
add.
that's all, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. All right, anybody have any questions for Dr. Kavanaugh?
No, but I do have that name.
Oh, yes, go ahead, sorry.
I'm hoping I pronounce it correctly. Kasia Reyes, and she's been a member of BPA since her freshman year.
Yeah,
So that's a
Fabulous.
really big thing to be president of the US.
national.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, well, it would be nice if we wanted to invite BPA to a
Absolutely.
meeting after.
I'm surprised that Doug hasn't given us all the results yet.
Right. So that brings us then into the school committee chair report. Warrants 25-103S, 25-106S, 25-107S, 25-018S have been approved, included in your folder. Do people have any liaison reports? Okay,
CPAC met this week.
great.
It was a good meeting. Things are getting set up for the end of the year. Little activity, and it'll be at the library, and I don't know the date off the top of my head.
And do we have another meeting with CPAC? It felt like there was something in May that was supposed to happen with us, a meeting with CPAC of some sort.
Oh, that's right. We were going to do the twice-a-year thing.
Right. We did
Yes,
one
they
in
are
our-
supposed to come to a meeting and report out sort of where we are.
Yeah, okay.
And I think they also have their end-of-year meeting on June 10th. Is that correct?
Is that the,
Oh,
thank you.
do you want to connect with
I'll
them and
connect
see
with-
which
yeah.
upcoming meeting would be convenient for them?
Okay.
Okay. And then, Chris, do you have anything for liaison reports?
Nope, nothing now.
Okay. All right, then that brings us into, is there anything we want to take out of order? What is the, do we want to do the special education van transportation, for example, out of
So that.
order since Abby's here?
Sure, that'd be
Do you
super
want to come
helpful.
up and do that now?
Thank you.
All right, so just for folks who are following along at home, we are moving into item F, which is the special education van transportation. Welcome, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you all. Thank you. So you have a memo, and I'll just hit the high points for you and take any questions. So at the end of this school year, we have the opportunity to extend for 1 year the current contract with Ride Right, which provides our in-district transportation. So that was written into the contract. We're not renegotiating anything, but we're coming tonight to say that given their commitment to our students, their assurance that they can meet our needs for next year, and their rates being held steady year over year, the recommendation would be to, activate this extension for 1 year to provide consistency and continuity for the students and the families, and to provide us a little bit of time to make sense of kind of the larger transportation environment in Massachusetts before your next big decision around a contract. So I'll take any questions you have.
Right, does anybody have any questions for Abby?
I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're a good partner to the district, and we appreciate working with them, so.
that's great. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the extension of the contract with Ride Right.
I second.
So motion by Kyla, a second by Susan. We'll do a roll call, starting with you, Kyla.
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Chris?
Yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much for bringing that forward. Before you go, I don't know if we're going to have the opportunity to have you back to a school committee meeting before your retirement. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for all that you have brought in your time here
It's nice.
at Hopkinton for our students. It has been much noticed and much appreciated. So
Thank you so much. Abby.
put us on a good path. So
Yes, you did.
Saying that, it's an honor to work here, and I very much appreciate my time, so thank you.
And good luck to you in the next
Well,
chapter for
thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Fun
you.
adventure.
I guess the students will get a good teacher, though.
They will, yes. Take care, thank you.
You too. All right. That then brings us back to the beginning of new business, and the first piece there is disbanding the superintendent screening committee. We have completed the process, so that we need to officially disband that.
I
Make-
move,
oh,
oh, go
you
ahead. I move that we disband the superintendent search
I'll
committee.
second that.
A motion by Susan, second by Kyla. We'll start with you, Kyla.
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Chris?
Yes.
Okay, then similarly, we are looking to disband the Director of Student Services Screening Committee because we also have a new Director of Student Services set to step in after Abby's retirement at the end of June.
I'll do that. I'll make the motion to disband the Student Services Director Screening Committee.
I second.
Motion by Kyla, second by Susan.
Yes.
Kyla? Susan?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Chris?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. So that is appreciated for everybody who served on both of those committees. That brings us into item C, which is the Project Shark donation. I love these.
I know, they're great, aren't they? So yes, you know that our CPAC has started Project Shark, and what that allows us to do is have donations and supplies for enrichment, things that happen in our schools, especially for students with special needs. So the March and April total, estimated total on those donations is $275.74, and we just need for you to accept those lovely gifts.
I move that we accept the gifts to Project Shark.
Okay, motion by
I'll
Susan,
second.
second by Kyla. Kyla?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Chris?
Yes.
Okay, so that is unanimous and also much appreciated. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the school committee meeting dates. And I am realizing with Jamie not here, this is going to be difficult to set. The one thing I would like to highlight would be the canceling of the May 29th meeting, because we've had 2 meetings this month, and we're able to push that out to June 12th, when we would have our reorganization meeting. Does that work for people here?
Yes.
June
Okay.
12th.
To June, so our next meeting would be on June 12th. And then if people can put together their vacation dates for the summer so that we know which times we cannot meet, and then we'll make at the next meeting a decision about whether we want to do fewer meetings but longer meetings. Some years we've done, in lieu of doing 2 in the month of July, for example, done 1 longer meeting that has happened in the day. I know for some people, potentially myself included, that might be challenging with work and some for childcare. But that is one option that we should consider. The other thing is that we would have the option to do virtual or in person, which might expand people's flexibility. And then, actually set the dates. So if we could all have and actually we can set by email the meeting after June 12th, just so that we know when we come to the 12th, when the next meeting after that will be.
Okay.
Okay. That then will bring us into the bullying and birth reporting. Dr. Kavanaugh.
Okay, well, thank you. So as you know, the regulations require that annually we make a report on bullying, specifically bullying, but we are a little bit unique in that a few years ago, we put together a bias reporting form that we affectionately call the BRF. I know, it's a little strange name, but I think that tonight's report is going to show you how it's being used, and I think that it's pretty effective, and it's a nice little tool to have. Just so you know, if at the end of the school year, you go onto the DESE website and you take a look at the numbers, they can change very slightly because there are still 6 weeks left of school, and there are actually a couple of bullying investigations going on even as we speak. So the results of those will not be in here. So this is the bullying and bias reporting and finding for 24-25. At the high school, so we'll start with the BRF. At the high school, we had 3 reports only in the BRF this year. 1 was anonymous, and 2 were investigated and followed up on. And I want to give you like a snapshot of one of the things that would appear in that spreadsheet. So when a student made a BRF report, that student wrote, "Students jokingly signed their name down on the GSA," which is the school's Gay Straight Alliance Club fair sheet. It was disrespectful and absolutely unnecessary. Not only does this mock gay students in our club's safe space, it can make our GSA members feel uncomfortable. So, that's the kind of thing that someone would report, and then allows our high school administration to, do the legwork to investigate. At the middle school, there were 35 reports. 2 of them were anonymous, so they were hard to follow up on. 3 the administration deemed a joke, but 30 of them were investigated. Some were not considered biased, but it really gives the middle school administration an opportunity to talk to kids. So, for example, one kid went in and wrote that Stephen was sharing his candy with everyone but not me. So we're not considering that bias. It might be student conflict, but it's certainly not bias. But the next one I think is important. The game was based on Ulta products. She chose a Fenty tint, which is by Rihanna, the darkest tint, darker than me. And before she showed it to me, she said, don't take offense to this, okay? Just don't. Then she proceeds to show it to me, and she says, here, I chose the darkest tint because it matches your skin tone. And the owner, Rihanna, is black just like you. So there's like a whole lot to unpack there, and that allows the dialogue to open, for example, at the middle school. So that bias incident reporting form is in fact paying dividends for us. So at the high school, this pertains to bullying. There were 8 allegations of bullying, 6 resulted in no finding, and 2 resulted in a finding of bullying. There were no other findings. At the middle school, there were 13 allegations of bullying, and then I think after we talked to students and parents, 2 of those were withdrawn, so essentially 11. 4 were no findings, 7 were findings of bullying, and none of them resulted in any other finding. At Hopkins, there were 9 allegations of bullying, 1 was withdrawn, 5 were no findings, 1 was a finding of bullying, and 2 of them were findings of harassment. At the Elmwood School, we had 2 allegations of bullying, 1 was withdrawn. The one that was remaining was not a finding of bullying. And at Marathon, there was 1 allegation which ended up being withdrawn, so there were no findings of bullying at all. Then I took this data and I consolidated it just so you could see it in one table. You can see how the greatest number really of allegations took place at the middle school, and I don't necessarily know that that surprises me. And it also is that kind of place where, kids are, certainly in terms of the brain, not
That
fully
age, yeah.
developed, and it's a little bit of a tricky age. So it's nice to see that we're responding well to those things as a district and making sure that when an allegation is made, we do a very thorough investigation.
So what is the definition of harassment versus bullying?
Yep, so when you are doing something against sort of a protected class, we would consider that to be harassment. So it might not be bullying, but we did have kids who were making slurs, and that's how that got labeled under harassment.
Okay.
What type of punishment? When they have a finding, what kinds of things? I assume it depends on grade level?
It certainly does, and I think you know that in the last few years, we've done a lot of work with restorative justice, and there's also 37H&a-half, which tells us that we need to do like educational interventions and restorative practices before we ever move to suspend. And so really, I think, when I look at, for example, the Hopkins situation where we had those 2 incidents of harassment, a lot of education went into working with the students who were involved in those harassment.
Is that
Cases.
through the guidance department or?
You know what? Most of the time, it's an assistant principal
Okay.
that is doing that work with the kids.
It's a good thing that-
And, yeah, and it's educational,
We got
and they
another
tell
one.
me that they like doing the work because it gives them the opportunity to sort of stay with the teaching piece even while they're in an administrative role.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they say they feel like it makes a difference in kids' lives, and I believe it does.
It would be interesting if we could do a longitudinal study, is that the right word?
Yeah.
That could follow up those 2 kids with harassment and find out what happens after. That would be a really,
And it's particularly interesting, I think, in a district like this. A lot of districts would have a K-5 school. So if something happened in 3rd or 4th grade or whatever, you'd have a couple more years to kind of keep watching. If something happened in 1st, you'd have many years to keep watching. But here, if this happens in fourth grade, halfway through, in another year, they're getting prepared to leave to go to middle school, so.
And hitting puberty.
Yeah. We do see a lot of behaviors at Hopkins, I think, that would have 15 years ago been more middle schoolish. But
Not surprising.
Yeah, they're maturing much differently now.
yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other questions before we move on?
No.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is the contract for the new superintendent. As people on the committee will recall, we did vote that in executive session, but it also legally requires a public vote, and I just wanted to talk about some of the highlights of the contract before we publicly vote on it, just for people to know. In Hopkinton, our administrator contracts are all very similar, so that they're what we would look at when we looked at Mr. Lebron's or Dr. Kavanaugh's contracts, or Mr. Bishop's contract as high school principal, would have a lot of very similar things in them. Obviously, the compensation is a little bit different for each place, and we negotiated a contract with Mr. Bishop for an annual salary of $210,000. Also, in his contract is the standard leave things with sick leave, personal time, vacation time, things like that. We also, important in the contract that I think was as important to him as it was to us, was having him be able to participate in the new superintendent induction program through the Mass Association of School Superintendents, as well as hold membership in Mass Association of School Superintendents. In terms of, the piece around the evaluation for the superintendent, that is stuff that is largely state regulated. So I would, at this time, I would seek a motion, unless anybody has any discussion they want to say about the contract. Otherwise, I would seek a motion to approve the superintendent contract for Evan Bishop for a duration of 3 years, beginning on July 1st, 2025, and ending on June 30th, 2028, which does not mean that his employment is ending, obviously. It just means that we would need to renegotiate the contract. And as people on the school committee I know are aware, and some at home, increases are negotiated annually with administrators. It's not something that's in the contract. So that,
So I move to approve Superintendent Bishop's contract from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028.
great. Motion by Kyla.
Second?
Second by Susan. We'll do a roll call, starting with you, Kyla.
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Chris?
Yes.
Thank you. And then I had also included in what I had emailed out this afternoon, a press release to go out for the community at large, but also for the staff and the students to see that we have in fact come to an agreement with Mr. Bishop. Did people have an opportunity to see it?
Yes.
Okay. Are there changes that people would like to see made? The one thing I wanted to add in here, which I realized after, is that I did not specify the term, the duration of the contract, so I would add that back
Would
in.
be good.
Okay. All right, so that will go out, I'll send it out to the members of the press, and then I think Georgette probably would send it out district-wide tomorrow to staff and students. All right, fabulous. I just have to toggle back to the next item, is the CPC grant for the adaptive,
I think we skipped the HTA contract.
oh my goodness, well, you know,
yeah.
Oh.
it's because my computer's not actually working,
I
and I have small print on my phone.
Who is it
Yes.
you're blaming?
So that brings us then into the HTA contract.
Yes, so we started negotiations very early on, I think in October. We completed those negotiations very recently in April, And I do want to, on behalf of the committee, thank the team from the Hopkinton Teachers Association. I felt like our negotiations were, thoughtful, respectful. We used IBB, and it couldn't have been better. So, yeah, they have ratified their contract, and I think we just need for you to do that publicly.
And I would like to also add just a thank you as well to the HTA team, and felt like it was a very thoughtful process. I felt like there was a lot of listening on both sides, and I was pleased that we were able to negotiate a contract that felt like it was beneficial to everybody, so. All right. Is there somebody who would like to make the,
I'll make a motion that we approve the HTA contract.
okay,
Second?
motion by Kyla, second by Susan. Roll call, starting with you.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Chris?
Yes.
Okay. And so that is a unanimous vote with many thanks to the HTA. Now we're moving into the CPC grant for the adaptive playground.
Which is super exciting. So here, we
is.
should thank our town meeting members for approving the adaptive playground. And I also want to thank publicly Mrs. Rothermick, who did an enormous amount of work to get us to where we are today with this project. Naturally, she had an adaptive playground committee, and I want to thank those members as well. And then finally, thank you to the CPC for that very generous donation of the $300,000, which really takes a lot of pressure off the price tag. So we just need for you to approve that, please.
All right, so.
I move that we approve the CPC donation to the
Grant.
grant to the adaptive playground.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, motion by Susan, second by Kyla. Start with you, Kyla.
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Chris?
Yes.
And it is unanimous with thanks both to CPC and for the members that attended town meeting that were very supportive, not just of the adaptive playground, but also the support that we received for our budget was, I think, really much appreciated to help us move into next year in a nice space. And I am excited for the adaptive playground to become a
Oh, my
reality.
goodness, it's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be a great resource for the community, but as well as the students that, at Marathon too. So, all right, so this is unprecedented, but this brings us into, I'm not missing anything. Okay, so that moves us into items by consensus.
All right, this is officially the earliest end of meeting we've ever had.
It
Wow,
could potentially be because we
7:41?
weren't able to get the calendar piece done, but we'll be
Yeah.
so ready for it next time, it'll be fast.
It's the one to beat for your next meeting, your last meeting.
Yeah. All right, as superintendent, I recommend the school committee approve the items by consensus as outlined in your agenda.
I'll second.
I think you mean to move.
Oh, I make a motion, sorry.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Kyla, second by Susan. Kyla,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
I am a yes, and Chris?
Sorry, I'm a yes.
Okay, so the items by consensus are also unanimous, and in terms of time to beat, I think this is probably the shortest meeting of your entire tenure
It
with the
sure
Hopkinton
is.
Public Schools,
Yes.
not just the superintendent.
Correct,
So-
yes.
Okay, so the next piece would be to seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will
Motion by
second.
Kyla, Susan is a second. Kyla,
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
I am a yes, and Chris?
Yes.
Chris is also a yes, so we are adjourned at 7:42. We will meet back for our next regular meeting on June 12th here at HCAM, and then I thank you to everybody, but also want to remind people that we have our annual town election on Monday. I hope people will be able to get out to vote. The polls are going to be open at the middle school, so
7 a.m.
7 a.m. till 8 p.m.
PM.
So, all right, thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Good night.